municipalities, as I say, and the rural areas as well. So I feel like it has, at the moment, it appears to be working.
Good. Would you like to offer a response? Okay. All right. Go back to the legislature. All right, and we're going to start this time with Verla, I believe. Okay. Let's see. So traditionally, the state senate has been the firewall during the budget season for the state's university system. Do you think the system is getting adequate funding at this point? And do you support the effort to cap financial aid at the universities?
The university is not getting adequate funding. We already have a lot of evidence that some of our highest paid and most valuable research faculty are being recruited away by other universities, and actively recruited away. And not only do they take their go, but they take their grant with them, and they take their graduate students, and they take their research project. And that is actually where a lot of our startups come from. We have hundreds of startups at the university every year that actually develop into big businesses. Quintiles is an example of a company that started here. So we really have to. There was a decision made to fund our universities to help drive the economy of the state, and we need to follow through with that. And the other part of the question was.
Do you think it says you support?
Oh no, it's very important for us to keep tuition low and for us to have adequate student aid if we raise tuition. I'm actually opposed to raising the tuition. I think our Constitution requires us to allow students to go to the university free as far as practicable. And once again, that brings us back to the fact that we only pay, the state only funds the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill 17% of its budget. There's no reason why we shouldn't be putting more tax dollars into that institution. It is a state, it's a public university, and it should have public support.
Representative Fucci.
I don't know that there's anything I can add to that. I agree with everything that was said.
Okay, great.
I'd just say, let's look at this idea of capping financial aid. What's the point of this? Why would someone express they think it's a good idea to cap financial aid? To say to kids, well, we're going to pay for some kids to go, but your family, we're not going to give you enough to go. Your family should have worked harder so that you could have afforded it. I mean, it's just insulting. We know that this is the university here in Chapel Hill has been considered the university of the people. We know the university system has helped millions of kids move out of poverty over the course of more than 100 years in North Carolina. And there's absolutely no reason why we should do something that heartless to the young people of the next generation.
Okay. We're going to turn back to the commissioner race. This time we're starting with Neil. Orange County is long known for its top flight services. It's also known for having one of the highest tax rates in the state. Property tax service. As a county commissioner, how do you balance that demand for those services against the increase of property tax rates?
You go around it by trying to diversify your tax base is really ultimately, and that is a long-term solution. That doesn't happen overnight, but you increase sales tax and you increase commercial property tax. That's the I think the long-term thing to do. You have to make choices. That's what elected officials do. The easy questions get sorted out by the staff and you pass them on consent. But you have to make, we are elected to make the hard decisions. And as I think I've made fairly clear, I feel pretty strongly that we need to be taking care of our people. We need to do it intelligently. We need, if there's new programs, for example, like the poverty program that the director of the health department is looking at, you need to look at it with in an analytical eye. But in the end, those are really important services. So I will lean towards. I will err in the direction of supporting those kinds of things. However, I do think it's very important that we are always mindful of how we can diversify the tax base in order that we not price people out of the county.
tax diversification, is fine, but again, the previous policy was the people that you really want to help, you're hurting them at the same time by increasing their taxes, their property taxes, which is forcing them to leave. So actually, it's an issue that we want to help these people, yet at the same time, we're forcing them to leave the county. I mean, there has to be an alternative solution. That alternative solution is basically go line by line, decide what we want to fund and what we don't want to fund. And I think over the past several years, politicians in Chapel Hill as well as Scarborough and on the county level have not done that. And I think it's time for a change. Let's take a approach, a way of keeping people here and helping them at the same time, And that's basically all I have to say.
Okay. Mia, you want to offer a rebuttal? Okay. So we've got one more question each on the legislature and the county commissioner side, and then we're going to move to some 2-minute closing statements. All right. So this time we're going to be starting with Senator Fucci. All right. So this is a fun one. What principled stand would you take that you know could lose you votes? Yeah, you're lucky they got that one first.
Wow. I think that the only principled stand that I think I would take that may lose some votes is probably a vote that I would take that those folk wouldn't vote for me anyway. I think that it would probably be marriage equality. That I am for, and I would vote for it. I would help sponsor or sponsor a bill for it. I would imagine that any vote that I would lose for that, I probably didn't get that vote before.
Well, I was going to say that I think we're really fortunate to live in a town where our value system is pretty consistent with our people who vote for us. This is an education community. I have taken some votes that I was sorry that I took. I don't know that I voted for the video poker, and I think I probably would lose some votes over that. I voted for it because it was a caucus vote, and that's the only time I have ever voted for a caucus position that I felt uncomfortable with. Generally, our caucus doesn't require us to vote. They just say, please let us know if you can't vote with this. So I guess that one would be the best example I can come up with. I'm sorry. Sorry I voted for video poker. Mistake.
My district does not include most of the municipalities. I only have a couple of precincts in Chapel Hill, none of Carrboro, none of Hillsborough, none of the Durham city limits. So I have a lot of the rural area, and that means my district is not quite the same as Representative Insco's district, which is most of Chapel Hill and Carrboro and Hillsborough. So I think a lot about values questions, but there are certain times in the legislature where you have to just make a vote based on what your personal values are. And one that came up this year was a school prayer bill. And there were many Democrats I knew who were going to vote for it because we had talked about it in caucus. And basically they said, this is mostly a harmless bill, and the Republicans really worked with us in trying to negotiate something that a lot of us could support. And so as a goodwill gesture, we're going to vote to support this bill. But I personally could not support that bill. And when we cast the votes and the tally comes up on the big board, there were only 9 people who voted against that bill. And I was really surprised that I was one of only 9 who voted against. But I knew if I would have voted any other way, the vote that I would have lost would have been my wife's. And so it's just sometimes where you have to do what you believe in, and that was one.
What was the bill about? What was the guts of the bill?
It's a bill that essentially makes it possible for teachers who want to join with students in a student-initiated school prayer to do so.
Okay, back to the commissioners for one last question. Gary, we'll start with you. How should Orange County, this is a popular topic the last few years, how should Orange County deal with its ongoing landfill and waste reduction issues? Also, it's a two-part question. How should it deal with its rural curbside recycling?
They recently closed the landfill. They all seem to be happy about that over in Rogers Road area. And in the process of right now of giving the compensation the community want their along with, the community center and sewers, debating how they're gonna pay for the sewer right now between Carrboro and Chapel Hill and County, and they're all thinking when they're gonna put their, get this together to actually fund. It's not the basic funding of it, to get it all done at the same time. There's a debate going on right now. It's not that we close the landfill. What are we going to do? Are we going to open up transfer stations? Are we going to ship our garbage to Durham? Are we going to dump